Welcome to another exciting episode of the Business of Digital podcast, featuring your hosts, Matt Siltala and Dave Rohr. Hey guys, excited to chat with you guys today about this topic. But first, before we jump into it, hey Dave, how's it going, man?
Hello, how goes it?
So, we are right smack dab in the middle of conference season, if you didn't realize this already, folks.
If you follow anyone on Twitter that does SEO or PPC or even social media, I know there's people flying out for PubCon. State of Search is going on. Swivel just ended.
Brighton just ended.
Brighton just ended. I was over in Europe for a conference. And there's the social media one out in San Diego, I think, starts this week.
Oh, yeah.
Like literally all at the same time. So,
yeah, and we probably missed 10.
10, yeah, probably.
So with that said, basically what we wanted to jump into, and again, this is, we know how it can be. Like especially if you're new to the industry and, you were sent by an employer, or even if you're just a small mom and pop and you went to one of these shows and you sat in on all the sessions that you thought were relevant to you, you probably reached a moment where you felt a little bit overwhelmed. Have you ever felt overwhelmed at a conference, Dave?
Yes. Usually, partly it's because I forgot to tell a client that I was out of town or a fire happens. But yeah, there's also times where, I'll let you, keep going.
I was just thinking, think back to, again, and I'll just use me as an example. I'm thinking back to when I first got in this industry and I first started going to conferences, and it was like trying to, drink from as the saying goes, drink from a fire hose. But like, it really is overwhelming. You have if you've taken great notes, or, if you write them out, you're trying to remember what you wrote or the context of it, or if you typed it out, you're trying to remember, you're going back and looking at people's slide decks, and things like that. And so what Dave and I wanted to do, guys, today is kind of give you how we handle the post conferences and how we go about taking all that information and processing it. Now, of course, all of us are going to be different. I don't own a small mom and pop shop. And so if I went just for local marketing and I got all this great advice with local marketing and how I'm going to implement it, obviously my advice is going to be different than someone that went through that. But hopefully you can kind of see how we go about it and starting to compartmentalize the different things that we do. Here's my approach, Dave. I basically look at everything that I learn, and I try to get a golden nugget from each speaker, and I try to highlight that, and I try to write it down, and I categorize things into, most important is this going to make me money? Is there potential for this to make me money? Okay, that is number one, the most important thing. So if I learned like 50 different techniques or whatever, 50 different tips, then I'm going to categorize all those things into, here are the things that are going to make me money, or that I can see that could impact my bottom line. And those are the things that I'm going to work on first. Obviously, there's other things like, you're going to learn about, again, just I'm throwing stuff out there, but like, local marketing and content and building links and, visual content and analytics and this and that, and all this stuff that you learned in the sessions that you sat on are probably, they're all super important. But if you're trying to figure out where, now that you're home and what do you do with this information, let's just focus on the things that are going to make you money right at first, okay? And so that's where I would just hone that list down and just start with those particular areas of what's going to make me money, okay? So then what I do after that, then I start to look at, okay, what are some of the tips that I learned that can help me grow this business or this brand, or, what are some of the things that are super important that I know that I should be working on that I just haven't had time to, that I'm going to figure out a way to dedicate some time to doing, okay? And so so again, that's what I do now. Again, obviously with me being an agency owner, I am going to take all this information and I'm going to compartmentalize it into the different areas. Like I'll have a bunch of really good golden nuggets that will be specifically for the content team, the PR, outreach, link builders, things like that. Then I'll have stuff that I've learned that would be really super relevant for the SEO team. And then I'll send that to them. I'll have stuff that I think that I learned, to my partners, the owners, people that started the company, or the directors, things like that. Like there's always something that I learned that usually, one department can be taken care of. And so like that's what I'll typically end up trying to do. And a lot of times too, to make it easier, when I'm in a session, and all the people know that I do this, and so they're okay with it. They have to be okay with it because I'm the owner and the boss. But I usually just if something is super overwhelmingly like just hits me over the head and is like, yes, we need to be doing that, so I don't forget about it, or so I don't go back to the busyness and the hustle and bustle. I'll just send the text message right then to someone on the team. I'll be like, hey, I was here at this conference, and this is like amazing. This is killer, or this is something we need to look at, or we need to implement. Or if I see like, we do a lot of visual content at Avalanche Media. If I see a piece of visual content that is like nothing I've ever seen before, then I'll send it to our designers and I'll be like, look, let's start getting the creative juices flowing on this one. And so that's really how I go about it. And when I talk to friends that have businesses that are obviously not agency owners, but just more of those small mom and pop type stuff, I go through the same process with them and telling them, you learned a lot, but let's focus on those things that are going to actually make you money. Obviously, you heard lots of information about creating content and this and that, and that's great. Content is something that you can work on, but if you don't have you don't have your citations set up correctly, or your maps, or all that kind of stuff. If you're doing local and you don't have any kind of address, or any of the NAP stuff, or name, address, phone number, for those that are new to this, if there's certain things that you need to do within local marketing or whatever different field, there's more things that are important, if you will. And again, I'm trying not to just generalize to one specific area, but hopefully it gives you an idea of no matter what your area is, there's going to be certain things that you're thinking to yourself, okay, this has the potential to make me more money, and that's what I would focus on. So that's kind of like how I go about it. And I don't know, Dave, if there's if you're ready to jump in and kind of share your thoughts on how you do post-conference stuff, but feel free.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking, because you kind of covered the agency, I'm thinking back to my days when I was in-house, and I was also looking, episode 19, we did Surviving and Conquering PubCon, which was also, could be applicable to really any conference, especially any conference in Vegas.
Yeah.
But I think if you haven't listened to that one, go listen to that one. It's Surviving and Conquering PubCon, or just do a search for PubCon on our website, or even through any of the other shows we've done. But it goes back to when I was in-house, I would always go around to the PPC people, the analytics, developer, IT, and ask them if there was any projects they were working on, what was going on that maybe I didn't know about, and started to take notes around different projects. Like, oh, we're doing landing page with this solution. I'm like, oh, do you have any problems with it? If you've been working with that vendor, do you have any problems or questions with it? You do. Okay. What questions? Because they might be at the conference. If I run into someone, or if, whatever, and I would kind of go through that process, and I would have questions that I would also show my boss and say, these are my goals. I'm going to go to these sessions on SEO to cover this. I'm going to go to this session on this. And then I would come back and basically, like you said, I would debrief those different teams, or I would look at those projects that were already in the works trying to make us money, or that were, already towards a goal and already were in motion. And I would immediately try to figure out ways to work this stuff into that.
Awesome.
And that was kind of what I would start with, just to get, like you said, it's fresh. You just went through it. You just saw it. What can I do to move the needle? Especially if you want your boss to send you to another one, then you really got to be able to show them that there was value. And if you are the boss and it was your time, you're Matt, it's time away from the business. So if I'm at the conference, I'm not serving my clients, I'm not talking to prospects, I'm not, if you're a consultant or, a lawyer or something, I'm not billable. So that's extra time away. So it needs to be extra valuable.
All right. Now, you had said something that made me think you're all, speaking of working it in, there's a question that I'm going to turn over to you that I know that you're going to, or a question that we're going to ask the people that are listening to us. So go ahead and do that right now.
And for those that were in one of our sessions, you'll know what this is. And for those that weren't, I will quickly say that we are giving away $100 gift card towards any solution. You can use it for Majestic, you can use it for Sightbulb, you can use it for SEMrush or Ahrefs or whatever. We'd be curious to know which one you'd want when we talk to you. But the main question that you need to tweet at us to be entered to win is, what do you want to hear more from us in 2019? Do you want to hear more social? Do you want to hear local SEO, enterprise SEO, small business, paid, Facebook? What am I missing?
Anything
whatever.
Digital marketing.
More Pinterest stuff, more content marketing. Or if you want.
Would you like? I mean, typically we haven't had a lot of guests. Would you like more guests? I mean, not that we might actually listen to you on that one because we kind of like our platform and what we're doing here. But you can suggest it. I'm saying.
Yeah, if you want to hear, and we're the first to admit, if we're not the expert on something, we always have people on.
Totally.
And that's usually when we have guests on, if we want to really cover something deeply. But yeah, we'd be curious, and I know someone recently, I won't say it to skew the answers, but someone pinged us on Twitter recently and was suggesting something, and so that's being noted.
Yeah.
But I'd be curious to hear what else, what do you think we've beaten to death?
This is good timing too, Dave, because if you think about it, everybody that was at the conference, and I know that if they weren't able to be at any conferences, I know that they've been to some in the past, or at least they've heard of tools. But those that were in our sessions and that were at the conference, they will have heard people talk about these tools
all sorts of
over and over and over, all sorts of tools. And so if there's one of them that you're just like, man, I really wanted to try that tool, but I just don't really have the budget to give it a shot, or I'm a cheapskate and I don't want to, well, here's your chance.
Yep, exactly. And we've reached out, and I don't have official word from enough people yet to say anything, but some of the deals, depending on which tool you really want, we might be able to help you sweeten the deal. Yeah. So instead of just getting 1 month, you might be able to get 2, or you might get upgraded. So we're reaching out to some people about that stuff. So we'll see.
So see, it pays to listen to the Business of Digital podcast, people. So
literally pays.
Yes. So I guess I'll just share a few final thoughts on this topic, Dave, and then I'll pass it over to you to do the same.
Okay.
But basically, guys, what I'm thinking about here, as far as it goes with conferences and things like that, just don't get overwhelmed. Okay, like I know that it does feel like the fire hose. Trying to drink from it, but just like I said, start figuring out what is most important to you and what resonates with you the most, and even to the fact that you're back and I would recommend most conferences, especially a lot lately, and I don't think PubCon does this yet, but a lot of them that I've been to recently, they record them. And so you may have missed some tracks. You can go back and listen to them. You can go back and listen to the ones that you were at 3 or 4 times to make sure that you got what the speaker was trying to say. Because a lot of times, if you go back and look at slide decks, you may not see everything that was in there. Or then, like if you're attending one of mine, I'm more of a story person.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
You'll miss most of... I would literally put a picture of a cat up there and then talk for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and
Sorry.
so yeah, exactly. So, and I got lots of cats in mine too. So if you're looking at those, you're gonna be like, what the heck were they talking about? And so, also another thing that you can do too, if you're in a session, and again, I know that we're talking post, but if you happen to, this will be good for future, but if you happen to be in a session that you really like the speaker and you're really starting to get a lot of tips, and just remember, just throw on a recorder and record them. Okay, you can go back and listen to that as much as you want. And so, anyway, most places that I have, most conferences I've been to don't have any rules for that, especially if you're only using it for yourself, and not sharing it anywhere else. But basically, come up with some sort of a system that helps you break it down to what makes you money, your most important stuff, the stuff that's going to help you move the needle, the stuff that you've been wanting to get into. And again, if you're ever at a point where you have a list of things that you're curious about, if you're listening to this podcast, Dave and I, we love helping people out. We love answering questions. Ask us a question about something. Who knows? You may win something from us, and we may talk about it down the road. So those are just kind of my final thoughts as far as how to go about this, and once you get back from a conference. And so I don't know if Dave has any final thoughts, but I'll turn it over to him.
Set up meetings. Normally when we get back from conferences, or if you'll find out that you were gone for 3 days and suddenly everyone wants your time. If you run the company, there's been decisions or emails or fires that weren't big enough for people to send to you, and now you're stepping on them and walking on hot coals for a while. Hundreds of emails. I see people in halls all over the place always taking calls and answering emails and stuff. If you're at the conference, hopefully you were able to focus on the conference and talk to vendors and talk to friends and meet new people. And now you're back in the office on that Monday or Tuesday or whatever day it is, and you're just looking at a mountain of work to do. Start scheduling meetings to debrief people. Start scheduling meetings to talk over what you learned. Start doing that. Otherwise, next thing you know, it's going to be 2 weeks past, and your boss or someone's going to ask you about that, and you're going to be like, oh, I have my notes somewhere.
Yep.
Or, oh, I have this somewhere. Or it was a good, or someone's going to stop by and is like, oh, how was that conference? Oh, it was really great. Oh, what'd you learn? Oh, all sorts of stuff. Oh, well, what are we implementing? Oh, well, I'm really busy.
Yeah.
Good luck going to a conference again.
Yeah. Well, you also said something there, and sorry to jump in here, but you said something that made me think about, obviously you may not get $100 value like we're giving away, but most of these tools, I bet you, if you reached out to them, you're looking through all your business cards, and if one stuck out to you, I bet you if you emailed that person that you talked to and been like, hey, would you mind giving me a month of this so I could check it out, or any kind of free trial or demo version of it, I would almost bet 9 times out of 10 they would be willing to do something for you. So just a thought that I had from just past experiences, because I've gotten cards from people and I'm like, oh, I wonder if they were offering me a free demo on that, or if they were offering me a trial account. I can't remember. I'm going to just email them, and every time I have, I've gotten a month or 2 months or 3 months.
A week or 2 weeks or something.
Exactly. So just
remember that. Or if
that.
you used it in the past, you can say, oh, that was, I've started in the last year. We used the tool 2 years ago, and I'm new. Can you, just re-up it and give me, another 2-week trial or a week trial or a 1 project trial or whatever it is, and just kind of pretend I'm a new person because I've never used the tool.
Exactly.
And most times they'll be like, oh yeah, especially if they're reasonably smart, they'll be like, oh, last time you were a client for 2 years and they spent X amount of dollars. I can certainly give you a 1-week trial to hope that you'll, sign up again. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I think just setting up meetings and making it a priority to go over those things and to spread what you learned and debrief as many people and get those things started. Otherwise, you're just going to get buried, and then, good luck.
Yep. All right. And with that, just one final reminder, guys. Let us know what you want to hear from us. So if you're just getting done with the conference at PubCon, let us know. Tweet out to us, Dave or myself.
You have 1 week.
Yeah, you have 1 week. Dave, myself, we're at the Business of Digital account. It's all over the website. We're very easy to find, so we're not going to go into that here, but let us know what you want to hear more from us about, and we will pick one of you guys. And
the official stop time, if those that are procrastinators, will be the timestamp of the next week's podcast we'll go to. Because I don't think we mentioned that. So that gives them almost a week. So if you're traveling or still doing something when this goes live soon, you'll have until the next podcast.
Plenty of Vegas recovery time, so no excuses, people.
Yes, or whatever conference people are at.
Yes.
So, yep.
All right. Well, for Dave Rohr with Northside Metrics, I'm Matt Silzel with Avalanche Media, and thanks, guys, for listening, and we'll hit you on the next one. Bye, guys.
Thanks.